Alright, it's Saturday morning, second week of June. It's time to let the chickens and ducks out. They're making lots of noise. I'm sitting down here by the pond for a minute. I want to show my permaculture property. Maybe explain some of the things you're seeing as we walk up through. In no way will I hit all the plants or functions going on, but I will explain a few things. Alright, let's go see it. So all these ponds and water features are catching and storing energy. Same with all these plantings, catching that sun's energy and storing it. The majority of the plants you see are perennial plants. These are permanent, they're here every year, come back by themselves. Jerusalem artichokes all over the property. We love the tuber from those. Stores itself in the ground. There's a Nanking cherry there at the bottom. It's peppermint or a spearmint, chocolate mint, chamomile. There's an Oregon grape bush over there. It's a butterfly bush there. Ground covers of clover and hairy vetch, strawberries, different grasses that are native. These are burning, stinging nettles. Hated them as kids, but we love them in our pastas and teas. We eat them as a food. Need to cover the blueberries. Birds are getting them. These are all sunflowers up through there. They're all volunteers. Thornless blackberries are just starting to ripen. This bush is 2 years old now. That's the thing I like about perennials. Every year they get larger and larger. Berry bushes, fruit trees, perennial vegetables. This is lovage. Brings a lot of the beneficial insects to the garden when it flowers. And the annuals, most of the annuals in here, but there's a bunch of perennials mixed in. That lovage, asparagus, grapevines, surrounded by berry bushes. Those thornless blackberries we just looked at. These are red raspberries here. Better grab these while I'm here for the insects get them. Yum. And these black caps all the way up through. Looks like he's found some. And each of these is their own guild going up through here with berry bushes and fruit trees and ground covers. Cilantro gone to seed. Comes back every year for us. Dill. Comfrey. Daylilies. Sorrel. Lovage. There's carrots mixed in there. Red clover. White clover. This is a gooseberry. It's an autumn olive. Some more sunchokes. Small black currant. Lots of mustards that are going to seed around it. This one's an apple tree. Daylilies. Some volunteer basils. Lots of greens in there. Horseradish. Some other flowers. Perennial flowers. More lovage. Lavender. Penroyals. Some mosquito plants. More dill. Lamb's quarter. Volunteer sunflowers. Sunchokes. Arugula. Basil. Chamomile. Marjoram, if I'm saying that correct. Some tomatoes on the edge. So all that is in this small area. stacking and packing. There's some more cilantro in there too, and I'm sure I missed a lot of them. But it's all in this small area, all working together as a guild to pull nitrogen out of the air and store it in the roots, to collect the minerals and nutrients deeper in the soil through the deeper tap roots of the dynamic accumulators, to bring in the beneficial insects on the different flowers, to feed us and those insects. It's in a hugel mound. This is buried organic matter, buried wood, buried logs, with soil put on top, with swales in front of each one of them to collect and store that water. Let it slow, settle, and saturate into the landscape. This one's new this year, so got lots of potatoes in it for the first year where the soil's still nice and loose. Some bee balm, wineberries, or sunchokes or Jerusalem artichokes. This is comfrey. Has an extremely deep taproot. Use it all over the property. Pulls up those nutrients as a dynamic accumulator, reaching down to those minerals and nutrients that aren't available to your annual plants with their shallow roots. So this has a very deep taproot, accesses those nutrients, pulls them up, stores them in its leaves, and then is chopped and dropped in place. So I'll take these leaves, put them at the base of other plants, and let those nutrients leach into the ground around them. These are yellow raspberries. Helps us get them before the birds. The birds usually key into them when they're red. So these are harvested at yellow when they're yellow. Strawberries all along the base. There's a large elderberry behind it, just going to flower. Just finishing flower. It's a gummy berry there being hidden by the Jerusalem artichokes. I don't know if there's any berries left. It's also a nitrogen fixer. It's a fig. Austrian winter peas, fixing nitrogen, covering up the rocks here. These rock piles to catch and store that energy again as the sun beats on it all day. It saves that heat for the evening for the plants. Extends their season. Berries and vetches all along the fence. Some pokeweed in the back. Goldenrod. We'll try to keep this contained to here. It isn't invasive, but has many useful properties. This is a new bed also. There's potatoes in there though, and some elderberries and beets and chards. And looks like some sunchokes in the back. Yarrow just going to flower. Plum tree behind it. Very similar guilds along here, but we have an apple tree, a plum, and another plum. Backside of this guild, you can see a small elderberry, carrots and greens. Some more borage coming up on its own here. Planting from years past, I believe. Another fig. Just another currant. Quite a few plums this year. Okay.
So the annual side, surrounded by perennials. Perennials mixed into the grape giant climbing this trellis here. 3 hardy kiwis that need to find a home. Potatoes, peas, clovers and lettuces and marigolds and tomatoes and potatoes and squash and cucumbers and carrots and strawberries and sunflowers and sunchokes and kales and garlic and mustard greens. I'll go on and on. I've mentioned it before, but these are all hugel mounds, hugel beds, hugel culture. Buried organic matter, logs, twigs, sticks, anything organic piled up, covered with soil. We grow them heavy with beans and peas, different nitrogen fixers for the first couple of years. There's also a lot of comfrey. We'll talk about the comfrey. We've chopped and dropped once already this year. We're already starting to flower again, second week of June. Really good for the bumblebees. This is sorrel. Another perennial green. Lots of tomatoes, peas, beans, kale, squash, anise hyssop. Got my squash starting. All around here I put in some cornelian cherries, a couple of cornelian cherries, sea berries, 3 different hazelnuts. All this area in here is going to become food forest, and the annual beds will move up behind us, closer to the house where the greenhouse was. This is another chestnut here. Potatoes planted around it for the first year. This new bed. This little sea berry down there. Probably needs more sun. It's a sun-loving plant, tree, bush. These are black locusts. You see the thorns on the stem. Just keep chopping them back. They're nitrogen fixers. So the pruning above the ground is leaving that nitrogen below the ground for the plants to feed off of. There's another one here. I leave them all over the garden. Bug patrol. A lot more anise just starting to flower. In our ground covers we have lettuces mixed in, squashes, onions, clovers. Oh my goodness. Three years old. All this. Abundance. Put in some effort in the first few years, maintenance after that. You guys want some blackberries? Abundance for everyone. Sharing the surplus. Earth care, people care, fair share.